Hello, it's some dust or something. I'm here today to make the Toxicity tier list on Path of Titans. This was voted on as the video that people wanted to see the most from me next, which is great because I thought this would be just a fun little thing to do. I don't know if you paid much attention to what people say about Path of Titans online, but a lot of the discussion seems to be about how toxic this game is and how awful all the players are and, all this kind of thing. And they're mostly talking about official servers, which is fantastic because since I started playing this game, I have only played official servers. And I've also played mostly solo, which has made me the victim of many of the toxic behaviors that people talk about. But for the benefit of this tier list, at least that gives me some sense of knowing what I'm talking about. The way I went about putting this together, as you can see, we have 4 tiers. At the top, we have Toxic Waste. Below that are the Lemon Heads, the Sour Patch Kids, and the Sweet Tart. And essentially, the lower they are on the list, the less likely I think the dinosaur is to partake in this sort of behavior, KOSing, juvie killing, mix packing, mega packing, Discord sweat lords, and all the trash talking that accompanies all of that. So down here at Sweet Tart, they're very unlikely to do that, and up at the top at Toxic Waste, they are extremely likely to do that. Of course, I also want to say that it's going to depend on the player. Obviously, anyone can play any dino and be as nice or as mean as they want, but in all my time playing the game, I have a pretty good spidey sense for this kind of thing. For the purpose of this list, I imagine I'm doing quests, I'm minding my business, I look up and I see one of these dinos, and what is my gut reaction? What do I think they're going to do? How easy or hard are they going to make my life? And that's kind of how I went about placing this list. To start us off, we have Albertoceratops here. I very fondly remember a time in Path of Titans history when Alberta was like super underplayed. If people wanted to play a Ceratopsid, they either played Eotrike or Styraco. It was only after Eo got nerfed to hell and back that people really started dipping their toes into Albertoceratops. Before then, it was very rare. And it was right around the time my showcase video on these guys came out that I started seeing them everywhere. And I know that's not because I talked about them on my little channel, but it was a funny coincidence. And now they're freaking everywhere, and they're awful. My reaction to seeing these guys has kind of morphed from, oh look, an Alberta, to like, oh my god, an Alberta. And that's because people realize that you could spam the charge, they realize these things can take a hit, it can run forever, and that plays just fine into the type of person that loves to just ruin people's day. So Alberta, extremely likely to partake in practices that would ruin your experience. Alberta's going straight to Toxic Waste, there's no two ways about it. I remember a time when it was in Sweet Tart, but it sure as hell isn't there now. Next up, we have Alioramus. Now, this is a fast carnivore, which you would think would lend itself well to the people that want to really pick on other dinos. Funny enough, though, when I see Alioramus, they tend to be very kind. They're pretty solitary, they're quiet. You may see them in a little group, but usually I see them and they're on their own. I assume people pick this dino not to pick on other dinosaurs, but instead they pick the Alioramus to get away from things that could mess with them. Really, I haven't had too many negative experiences with Alioramus. They tend to be pretty good and just stick to themselves. I'm putting them in Sweet Tart, legitimately. Haven't had hardly any bad experiences with them. Okay. I think that's Allosaurus. Now, this is going to be kind of skewed because Allosaurus is such a common playable that it's only natural it's going to attract the bad guys. I do think that its big, scary appearance and, sub-apex stats and everything are what draw in a lot of the toxic crowd, but every time I see an Allo, I don't immediately shoot to, oh my god, they're going to mess with me. Pretty often I get that feeling, but it's not like an Alberta where I know there's going to be some nonsense right around the bend. Allo, I think, belongs in Lemonhead. More often than not, these guys are going to be a problem for you, but not as bad as some of the ones we're going to get to later. Amarchosaurus is Sweet Tart. a Margosaurus, the players that want to pick something fast or want to pick something powerful so that they can mess with other dinos, they're not going to pick an Amargasaurus. The people that pick an Amargasaurus are the ones that know they're not going to be good in a fight, especially not a fight that they're going to instigate. They know they're too slow to chase anything, and they pick this thing to either be nurturing or to really soak in the realism of Path of Titans. So in my experience, Amargasaurus are total sweethearts, and for that reason, they're going in Sweet Tart. Now, Anodonto. Anodonto has had a very crazy history and development, and as they stand now, they are a favorite of people that want to cause problems. I can't tell you how often it is in the chat that someone gets killed and immediately goes to global and says, like, I'm bringing my Anno, be ready, or I'm pulling up with my Anno squad. And it's because they really are easy to perform well with. You know, people say all the time, playing an Anno takes no skill. And I think that's more true for the Anno than it is for any other dinosaur in this game, you know. It makes them very good. The only problem is, you know, they're slow. They're even more slow than Amarga, but people will try to use them for nefarious purposes. You know, all the mix packs have them, mega packs have them, revenge killers have them, and they will use that stamina to mercilessly run things down and chain bone breaks so that apexes like Rexes and things can come up and munch on you. Anodonto, I never really see any friendly ones. It's extremely rare I see an Anno that wouldn't mess with me if they had the chance. For that reason, they're going in Toxic Waste. Next is the Barsboldia. Now, out of all of the dinosaurs in the Apex category, I think Barsboldia is the least likely to be toxic. I'm not really sure what it is about it. Maybe it's because it's one of the more defensive-leaning, probably the most defensive-leaning Apex. That these people don't really seem to go after dinosaurs. Obviously, you'll see it very rarely, and just by the fact of them being an Apex, they're going to draw in some of that crowd that wants to pick something big and powerful so that they can bully other players. But of all the Apexes, they're kind of sweet. They mostly stick to themselves. They tend to be nurturing and look after babies and things. Very rare I come across a Bars that is actually trying to do harm. Even the mix packers don't really like them that much. They tend to go for the harder hitting things like Rexes and Trikes and Ducks and things like that. But Barsboldia, Sour Patch Kid. Just because it's an Apex, I can't put it in Sweet Tart because it is going to draw that crowd. But of all of the Apexes, this thing is just a sweetheart. Next is Campto. Believe it or not, I expected when I picked up this game for Campto to be a lot more of a problem, and that's not because it's strong, because it's not. It's precisely because it isn't strong. See, because I thought to myself, the kind of player that really wants to troll and talk trash, they're probably going to try and get good at the weakest thing possible so that when they kill other people, they can just brag endlessly about it. Like, oh my god, you died to a Campto, how did that happen? But no, I don't know if it's just because this thing is so weak that it can't be used that way, or if people just forego it, but Camptos are just fine. Every now and then one will be a little ballsy and come up and nip at you or whatever, but they're never really a threat. It's going in Sweet Tart. Cerato, though. Cerato, these are people that typically work well with bigger dinos. Mix packs love their Ceratos. Mega packs love their Ceratos because they're very good at catching up to things and bone breaking. Cerato, how likely are they to be toxic? Well, when I see a Cerato, I'm typically immediately on edge. Really, it's going to come down to whether or not they're in a group, though. A lone Cerato usually won't try to cause you too much trouble. I think Cerato fits in at Lemonhead. They will try to... It's really annoying, because their role in these sort of toxic player groups is to bone break chain on you, and just let the rest of the pack do the work, usually, so there's that. Conks are Toxic Waste. These guys are super fast. They recently even got a speed buff. They're faster than Metries now. I don't know if that's always been the case or not, but they are faster than Metries. And they can apply bleed, and they love nothing more than to just run around the map looking for anything they can mess with. I've been jumped by Conks out of nowhere so many times. most of the time when I'm a conch, other conchs mess with me, like groups of them and everything. They'll go after babies. Like I was raising a baby Spino the other day, and 2 adult conchs came up and just totally wrecked me. I was doing quests with my conch, 2 conchs came up and wrecked me. They love it. I've seen groups of apexes trying to circle around babies because 2 conchs will not leave them alone. These are just players that love getting in fast and getting around the map and looking for the next thing to sink their claws into. So Toxic Waste for sure. Then we have Despleto. Has the Bone Break, but of the carnivores that have Bone Break, Despleto is on the lower end of the toxic behavior list. You know, the players that really want to be a problem, they're just going to go for a Rex, or they're going to go for a Cerato, because Rex can actually do damage and take damage, and Cerato is faster. Despleto, surprisingly enough, when I see them most of the time, they're not a problem. You'd think they would be, but they're not. So I'm putting Dasp in Sour Patch Kid. Then we have the Dinocurus, which is immediately going to Toxic Waste. This is an Apex that loves the fact that it has pretty good stamina, and it's pretty good in the water and out of water. This is an Apex that I see massive groups of all the time. People really love their Dinocurus, which is fine. But, yeah. They really do lean into this sort of behavior. Next is the Deinonychus. So these are the chickens. The chickens can be a little bratty. And if they had a higher capacity for actually being a problem, I'm sure they would be. But they don't. Even in a pack, they have a hard time taking down a lot of the mid-tiers. These guys just tend to be little jokesters, little pranksters. They're even less likely to be a big problem for you than the Latins. But when I see a Dynon, I do know it's going to be up to some shenanigans. I feel like Dynon belongs in Lemonhead. Then we have EO. EO is Toxic Waste immediately. These are like the people that switched to Alberta whenever EO got nerfed, but they were too stubborn to change, and they are just like big oafs. They love charge spamming as much as they're able, which they're not good at, but they'll use the bulk to build up that stamina and just constantly interfere with things, and they're really annoying. Really annoying. It's not very often I made a nice EO. Iguanodon? Sweet tarts. The people that play these, it's for the same reason the people play Amarga. They just really like Iguanodon. They know they're not particularly good at fighting or anything. They're not a bad playable by any means. They're just a little lacking compared to some of the others in their tier. But I've never... I don't think I've ever had an Iguanodon cause problems with me. I rarely see them, for one thing. I've seen a couple of adult Iguanodons, but they've all been super nice. So, sweet tart. Kintro. Kintro are lemon heads. They're very aggressive, despite the fact that they play better as a defensive dino. They come charging into fights all the time. They're very rarely able to do a whole lot on their own, but they are a favorite in herb packs, and they are a little bloodthirsty. Next is Lambio. I would love to put Lambio near the bottom, but the fact of the matter is these guys are kind of punks. Again, for those herb groups, but also just like lamb groups. Not too long ago, I was playing with actually a subscriber from the channel, and funny enough, he was playing Kent, but we were messed with by a Stego and 2 lambs, and 2 lambs in a group is actually pretty rough. The fact that they can just chain heal on each other, and they have the stamina that all these kinds of players really love, so I've had some bad experiences with Lambos. I don't think they're particularly bad. Sour Patch Kids sounds about right for the Lambio as a whole. Then we have Latin. Latin's going in Lemonhead with the Deinonychus. I'm going to make a Latin showcase here soon, although I'm thinking about waiting until the Night Stalker update, or whatever the update they're about to do is, because it looks like the Latin's going to get a lot of attention. But I love my Latin. I've said in the past, I think Deinon's better, but the more I play the Latin, the more I think the Latin actually blows it out of the water, and I'll have a showcase on these dinos soon. Then we have Meg's Toxic Waste. Somebody said, that was the fastest Toxic Waste in this tier list, by the way, but somebody said in the comments to my poll, we all know Meg's going to be at the top, and you are absolutely right. Lizard Squad is not only a threat, they're a menace, they're a scourge. These guys kill babies, these guys kill anything they possibly can. I have seen groups of 10 Megs running Rexes out of SLL before. Very rare I see a Meg that's not on some BS, so the fastest Toxic Waste. I mean, just if you follow any of the online discussion about Path of Titans, Megs are memed on for how much they kill babies. They constantly kill babies, and then they'll go and chat and be like, you know, easy, get good, you know, all this stuff. It's just like, okay, whatever, bro. So Meg is Toxic Waste. And then, what is that, Metri? I think that's Metri. Metries are typically up to no good. Not always. Some people like me pick them because they're relatively easy to survive as and escape as, and they can hold their own. But Metries do tend to be kind of butt heads. I think they belong in the lemon head. When I see a Metri, I'm not as immediately, like, over it as I am when I see a Meg. Next is Packy. Packy, they can kind of go either way. Packies can be really annoying. Speaking of butt heads, by the way. But, I think they realize that they're really frail. And, I've met a lot of Packies that, instead of dealing with any conflict, will just use their jump to get on top of something and wait you out. And, you know, that's fine. I think... I don't know, I really don't have that many bad experiences with Packies off the rip. Every now and then you'll get one that's running like Scavenger or whatever and it'll cost you, but for the most part I think these guys are Sour Patches. Picknos, though, tend to be a bit more aggressive, which is natural, I suppose. They tend to overestimate their abilities a lot. Picknos will constantly just come charging in out of nowhere, try to launch you off cliffs and circle you and everything, so I'm gonna put Pickno in Lemon Head. Just a second, my cats are fighting. I gotta... Hey! You chill. Alright, I guess I'm doing the rest of this tier list with one of my cats in my lap, because she's being a little punk. Okay. Sarco. Sarco's Toxic Waste. It kind of is because they really lean into the ambush predator side of their design and everything. Sarcos love trash talking. They're the people that are always in global going, you know, come in the water, coward. You know, you're so tough on land, come in the water. And it's like, they'll be saying that to something like a Steg or an Anki or something, and it's like, of course they're not gonna go. They're not water dinos. Of course they're not. Like, are you... I don't know, that's like an alien telling an astronaut, like, come out of the spaceship, coward. Come out of the spaceship and fight me. It's like, we're not adapted to that. Why would we give up the benefit we have as something that's more land-based so that you're a little more, less likely to die? I don't know. They're annoying. They love messing with people. They are famous for it. Spinos. I'm tempted to put them in Toxic Waste too. In fact, that's what I'm gonna do. Spinos, they tend to be... They have the Apex Syndrome, just like Rexes, just like EOs. And people really love how showy they are. If you want to see why I'm putting them in Toxic Waste, then spend enough time at Spined Lizard, Corpse Cove, or Talon's Point, and you will see exactly why I'm putting them here. Stegos, I think Stegos should go in Sour Patch. And it's not for lack of trying, because some people will try to be a huge problem as a Stego. But again, it's one of those more defensively based dinos with even less of an ability to tail you forever than like a Kint has. And so I think most of the people that play Stego just want to kind of do their own thing. every now and then. Although I will say the meta for the Stego now is like an anti-Anno thing. They're really good at dealing with Annos. I've made a video about it before. And so with Annos being as trolly as they are, Stegs are kind of the antithesis to that. They're sort of the anti-hero. Struthies are annoying, but not really a threat. This is something a lot of juvie dinos can actually kill. They are really annoying though. They will do things for a group like keep tabs on you and keep your combat timer going. They're very good at not getting caught. But for the most part, when I see Struthies, they're just running around making a lot of noise. They're not really participating in anything that makes you like want to commit self-delete. So I'm going to put them in Sour Patch Kid. And then we have Sterako. Sterako are lemon heads. Very annoying. Of the 3 Ceratopsid, these guys are the fastest. I think Albertos are actually a little better at tailing you just because they've got that spammable charge and the really good stamina, but Sterakos will also run you all over God's green earth just to mess with you. Mixed herds love them, you know. A lot of times when I see them, they're not exactly being nice, so when I see them, they tend to... I don't know. They tend to play nice a lot. I don't know why styes do this, but a lot of times when I see them, they'll play nice, they'll friendly call or double crouch or whatever, and then as soon as like you let your guard down, they're on you. They're very bloodthirsty for a herbivore, so I feel fine with putting them in Lemon Head. Then we have Suko. I think Suko also belongs in Lemon Head, actually. These guys are like aquatic aloes, and that's really that. Yeah, I would say they're a little less likely to be a huge problem than aloes, mostly because they're slower, but they try. And last are Tyrannosaurus, which, surprise, surprise, toxic waste. The people that pick Tyrannosaurus want the biggest, baddest thing in the game. They're really annoying because they love to roar and do that growling thing. It just like deafens you because, like, I don't know about you, but I play with headphones. It helps a lot with like surviving and figuring out what's around you. And these T-Rex players, they will not stop. Like, the first thing they'll do is the growling. They'll walk toward you and do that stupid growl, which was cool the first 2 million times I heard it. But they'll do that, and then when the fight starts, they do their tyrant roar, which is fine, that's beneficial, but then they will just keep roaring. They are the loudest fighters in the entire game, and they love it. They love hearing themselves. One of my favorite things to do is if I'm on a Latin or something and they're trying to like be big and bad and spook me, which they all try to do because they're big, you know, they just immediately assume smaller things are gonna be terrified, even though I can easily get around you, maneuver around you, and escape you if I need to. So I'm never like afraid of them as something small, but they love thinking you are. They will constantly growl and roar and like make a big show. But what's really bad about them is because they are that big bully apex dinosaur, all of the people that want to be big bullies play them. And so, you know, they'll cost whenever they're able. They're not particularly good at KOSing because they're so slow, but they'll try. They're in all the mixed groups. They're in these mega packs. The Discord Sweatlords love them, and T-Rexes love going into chat and being like, easy, get good, you know, thanks for the trophy, and all that stuff, you know. Delete the game. And they all do that because they picked like one of the strongest dinos in the game. Arguably the strongest dino in the game. And they get these big groups together and they just tend to be a problem. So yeah, they're going in toxic waste. They partake in pretty much all of the trolley behavior, the toxic behavior, and they're more annoying than the other dinosaurs while doing it. So that's why I'm putting them there. And yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the way this list looks. I think I got everyone. Obviously, there's the Kaiwekia and the Thalassodromius, but I mostly stick to Pangera on this channel. I have grown a Thalassodromius, and I started growing a Kaiwekia, but all of my other dinos are on Pangera, so I don't play it too much. But yeah, that's my Toxicity tier list. I'm pretty happy with that. Of course, you may have different opinions, and that's totally fine. You can bring them up in the comments if you want. I'm pretty responsive to comments. I love interacting with everyone who watches my videos and learning from people and sharing my points of view. But yeah, that's how I feel about these dinos and how toxic they are. So hopefully this video was educational, or entertaining, or you get some sort of like self-assurance from it because you already knew where these things were going to fall. But that's how I feel. And with all that said, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a great day.